Greetings and welcome to Disrupt Your Day with Petula Sankarsingh. I am the CEO and founder of VisionReady. Disrupt Your Day brings you the struggles, stories, and success of entrepreneurs to learn from and disrupt your day. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Disrupt Your Day. I am your host, Petula Sankarsingh. And today we have the wonderful Andrew, another one of our amazing entrepreneurs who is going to share his story, his struggles, and his success with you today to learn and hopefully grow from yourself. Andrew, thank you for joining us today. We're happy to have you. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm happy to be here, Petula. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to share with you and your audience.
Oh, perfect. So today, we're disrupting your day, hopefully, and everyone else's. And we would like you to just start and share what you'd like on your entrepreneur journey, your stories, your struggle, and your success.
Absolutely.
Turn it over. Got.
Well, I'll start with what I do as far as company-wise, entrepreneurship-wise. I started Expanding Wallet. It's a company that I created when I just kind of looked at what was going on in the world leading up to coronavirus and the pandemic. And when I was looking at statistics, it was just showing how many people were living paycheck to paycheck. And that number over the years kept getting worse and worse. And then you have the pandemic hit. Right. And that number obviously went up even more. I think now we're over 50%. Last I saw was about 58% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck.
Wow.
And I'm sure, that's probably not just only America, but probably globally. It's probably harder for a lot of people. And also what really inspired me to start the business was when I saw that suicide was going up. Oh, wow. Especially with younger people. And so the numbers of suicide was going up, and that, really shows like people are giving up hope. And that's sad to me. The potential there, especially young adults to be committing suicide. And actually, while I was in New York this past weekend, I got a call right before I was going to give a speech. Yeah. A friend of mine committed suicide.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So I'm still kind of like, not exactly sure how to deal with that loss. It's so fresh. Just found out 2 days ago. So, this is real. And that person, very happy person. I was actually shocked, but for whatever the reason, it's happening. And so I created Expanding Wallet because when I look back on my life, the past struggles, obstacles I've overcome, I felt like I was built to help. And so I created Expanding Wallet really to do two things. One, to help people gain the skills to create generational wealth and to fill kind of this financial education gap that we have in the school systems. Right. And if your parents didn't teach you those things, you won't have that understanding. And then the second thing was more of the inspirational side, going after your big dreams, because I believe that there are three reasons that we don't go after our big dreams. And it's that first, we don't believe we have enough money. We don't believe we have enough time. And then the third is that we simply just don't believe in ourselves enough to go after them. So really helping people to believe, right, is a key factor. And so as far as my life and kind of like the steps leading up to everything in my journey. So my mom was an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. I was born in Jamaica. I came to the US when I was very young, around 3 years old. And a little backstory on my mom. She grew up on a farm with 7 other siblings. So her parents had 8 kids. And so she knew about hard work. Before she came to the US, she was a teacher for 13 years, bought a house at 21, paid it off at 29. And so, one thing that I really think people need to understand, and I encourage them to travel and see the rest of the world, is that, America's appeal is so great that someone who many might argue had already made it, right? She came to the US to start her life over.
Mm-hmm.
Started over working for a job, making $4 an
Yeah.
hour. And I think that she did a lot of that for me, because in a third world country like Jamaica, there's not that many opportunities,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so America has many opportunities. And I think, after she had me, it was, maybe I'm doing well, but, this will be a better opportunity for my son.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And so she started over and became a nurse. But when she came here and later got married to my stepdad and had my sister,
Mm-hmm.
she took care of our family here, but she was also taking care of family members, relatives back home. And so her one income was supporting 8 people usually,
Oh, wow.
right? And
Yeah.
my stepdad got sick. He got diabetes. And so it was very bad diabetes and a couple other things. So his income was never consistent.
Okay.
And so my mom was always, just working hard. I mean, I would
Mhm.
see her work over 100 hours a week usually, and it's terrible on your body. It takes a toll on you.
Mhm.
And so around the age of 15, I
Mhm.
start self-educating myself on how to manage money, how to invest it. And I was also reading a lot of books on people who transform their lives and leaders around
Mhm.
the world. I remember reading Gandhi's autobiography, and that really was eye-opening.
Yeah.
W.B. Du Bois' autobiography. And so just starting to read at that time was really helpful for me. And so
Mhm.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, amazing book.
Yes.
And I saw that my mom was like the poor dad.
Uh,
And I remember saying, you say we can't afford this, we can't afford that. At that time, my mom had actually gone back to school. So not at that time, she was a nurse at that time, but
mhm.
before we moved to Minnesota, she was taking classes in Florida to become a nurse, and a
Okay.
licensed practical nurse, an LPN, and then later she became an RN. But again, she's still taking care of a lot of people, and she never knew about investing money really. And so
Mhm.
many times she had jobs where there was no retirement plan. It was
Mm.
just, you get your pay, you get your salary, and some health benefits covered. And so even though
Right.
she worked all those hours, no investments really.
Mhm.
And so at 15, it's like, well, why don't you start investing in real estate? Right. And my uncle, who was in Jamaica, her younger brother, he had done really well in real estate and said the same thing. And so she got a real estate license. And so I'm a teenager and I'm learning about, the MLS. I'm doing kind of helping her on the
Yes.
technical sides. She's not very technical. And so I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting.
Mhm.
But the big difference is real estate agents are not investors, right? They're not trained to be investors. They're trained to be agents to help buy and sell, do the
Mhm. Mhm.
transactional side. And so we end up getting the opportunity to actually work it, in Robert Kiyosaki's group of real estate
Okay.
investors. He had a courses back then, in-person courses.
Mhm.
And so slowly my mom would take them, and they're kind of like a funnel, like what you'd have a digital funnel,
Yes. Yes.
free
Mhm.
in-person course, and then you pay some money, you get a little bit more, and then you pay a lot of money to get a lot more. And even a
Exactly.
person, yeah, exactly. They kind of suck you in. And so, but at the same time, that they really were educating you on things that you could apply. And
Mhm.
so my mom was paying for these, and I got to tag along. She could bring a guest. Um, so by 18, I actually get my license to help her out before I go to college.
Okay.
And then I'm actually learning
Mhm.
all of these things. So I would say by about 2021, I know how to buy rental properties, flip houses. I've got an understanding of how do you do some land development,
Mhm.
subplotting, and then apartment building. So I get all of this different knowledge, and now I'm in college and I go to school for biomedical engineering.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, deep in my studies at the time, but I'm also planning. And so I'm building up my credit. And so by the time I graduate, I end up buying my first property 9 months after I graduate.
Oh my God,
And
that's amazing.
yeah, exactly. And I put that like number one. I didn't
Mhm.
buy a new car. I still had my high school car. And so I buy a duplex.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And most college students were buying new cars then, so you can imagine. And I, I took a little heat because it was like, hey, I was driving this car that was starting to rust a little bit, but I had a
Aw.
plan, and I had a
Mhm.
plan, and I wanted to pay off my student loan debt, and I
Mhm.
also borrowed money to renovate the property. So for 2 years, I was broke. I mean, I was really
Yeah.
broke for those 2 years,
Oh.
busting my butt to just pay off things. And so after those 2 years, By age 26, I'm debt free, all bad debt. I still owe on the property, but all bad debt is gone.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
oh,
have
go
to
ahead.
say, Andrew, not to interrupt you, you had a great role model and mentorship. Your mother seems amazing, amazing, amazing.
Absolutely. And, just say a quick couple things though on that, because I will say one thing. The part that was also a struggle was school.
Oh.
And struggling in school when I was young,
Mhm.
behind in reading, not the best student.
Mhm.
But, one thing that I realized was my mom never gave up hope on me. She
Oh.
never said I was dumb. Maybe I do bad on a test, but she always spoke to the greatness, always said you
Mm.
could do better. And, encouraged me to have more effort. That was one thing. I definitely
Mhm.
got to a point where I was not feeling good about school,
Mhm.
found out I was behind in reading on a standardized test. And it was a night in the car with my mom
Mhm.
after she found out I failed the social studies exam, an exam I could have easily passed, but I really didn't put in effort.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just that look of sadness in her eyes that really changed my life, because at that point I said I'd do whatever it took to do
Mhm.
well in school to make her proud. And
Oh.
yeah, after that moment, I was put in special ed, worked with an amazing special
Hey,
ed teacher.
nothing's wrong with that.
No, for real. And I mean, that changed my life at the time. I mean, I didn't feel good about it, I'll be honest with you.
Well, yeah.
Um, but only after 2 years of working with Mrs. Nelson, the special ed teacher, took that same standardized test again, and it showed I was reading 3 years ahead. The
Oh my
classroom,
God, that's excellent.
exactly, right? And the classroom teacher had said she'd never seen an improvement like that. She'd never seen anyone go from being a year behind and 2 years later to excelling and being among the top students in reading.
Mm.
And after that year, I was always academically among the top students in any subject, actually. And by the time I graduate high school, I pass out of actual college English. I took the AP test, passed out of that. And
Mhm.
then I was graduated with high honors, in academically high honors, and
Mhm.
then awarded chemistry student of the year and physics student of the year. And so, this is part of why I do what I do, to help people get hope and
Mhm.
inspiration, because, we have a lot of ability inside of us,
Yeah.
and you have to work at that every single day,
Mhm.
to get better. It didn't happen overnight, right? It didn't happen overnight. The results weren't there right
Mm.
away. But you put in the work.
Yeah. Yes. What advice would you give to a new entrepreneur starting when you say put in the work, like what would
Mhm.
you advise them like to do, and some learning lessons and some advice you would give them?
The first thing I would say is understand your why.
Mm-hmm.
Understand why you're doing why you're starting your business.
Right.
Because even when I started this business last year, I knew what my why was. And you need that strong why, that strong
Yeah.
drive, because the entrepreneurship journey is not an easy journey.
It's not.
Right?
It takes definitely some resilience and grit.
Exactly. And it's and if you think about it, right, we want the idea of entrepreneurship is amazing. It's
Hmm.
freedom, right? But
Hmm.
at the same time, the cost of freedom sometimes is having directionality, right? Are you
Yeah.
heading in the right direction? And for me, it's not so much how long is it going to take, it's, am I heading in the right direction?
Right.
Right? Like, if that's the direction for me and that's where I need to head, then that's fine, if it's going to
Hmm.
take a while. But I don't want to be heading in the wrong direction. And there's a
Exactly.
Tibetan proverb that I like, and it says, no matter how far in the wrong direction you've had, always
Yeah.
turn back, always turn back.
Oh, always. I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. Oh, that's some great stuff. So, any hard learning lessons for yourself as an entrepreneur, but still building your brand?
Yeah, still pretty early on building the brand. And there were definitely some hard lessons, especially in the beginning. In the beginning was really tough, especially when it comes to creating the website.
Yeah.
um, I decided, because I was still working, and I'm still working now, actually still building the business part-time while working full-time. um,
Hmm.
I hired a company that was a big name company.
Yeah.
They promised they could create the website pretty quickly.
Oh,
So about a month, 2 weeks of kind of planning, and then 2 weeks of them creating your website. And they create the website, and
yeah.
it's not necessarily all functional. So the plan is they create the website, and then they train you on how to manage the website, which is amazing, right? Because
Right.
eventually you want to have that knowledge. And so the problem though is that it's not aligned with my vision.
Mm.
They kind of gave me a cookie cutter kind of thing, said I was a
Oh,
financial planner, this and that, things that were not necessarily accurate.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I would say it's very important to understand your vision, your
Mhm,
goals, like understand who it is that you are.
mhm,
Like, because when you understand who you are, then now everything that you put your hand on, everything, your brand, right, that needs
mhm.
to represent you or represent your vision, or
Yes.
both.
Yes.
And so that first week, actually, I delayed making the website public.
Oh.
And we did a 2-hour training, and he
Mhm.
recorded it. And I remember just feeling overwhelmed, honestly.
Mm.
I am a technical person. I work as an IT consultant,
Yeah.
but this was something I had never done. And so I had to be strategic with it. I had to watch that video, and I
Mhm.
had to like basically take notes and bookmark
Yeah.
where each thing was, so that when I started to do things on the website, I could just go back to minute 240. This is where we talk about how to change the first, the homepage.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't
And
even talk to me about technology. I feel
right.
like I've been going through technology hell for like a year.
And that's what it's like as an entrepreneur. Especially now, there's so much technology, social media, there's so much to
Mm.
learn. And so you've got to be really strategic with it. And so I forced myself to calm myself down
Yeah.
and really watch this video and take notes. And so even though it was like 2 hour long video, it actually took
Mhm.
me about 4.5 hours,
Mm.
because I'd pause it, I'd write down the notes, the timestamp of when it was.
Mhm.
And then, that was really the first day. And then the next days were really just going at it and working on the website. And then I'd have some questions, and they'd kind of answer my questions.
Mhm.
And there were some things I found that I wanted done that he didn't show in the video, and he actually went in and
Ah.
did them or told me.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of that. And that first week was really rough because it was tied to a workshop I was doing, a virtual
Mm.
workshop I was launching, and I wanted the website to be ready in
Yeah.
time for that. So the thing I would say to entrepreneurs, like I said, is don't compromise yourself, right?
Yeah.
I could have easily have just have said this is good enough.
Yep.
Keep it that way. I don't know the technical part. We'll just run with it.
Mhm.
And don't do that. I think that it's more work up front.
Yeah.
It's harder,
Yes. Yes, indeed.
but at the end of the day, you will feel more fulfilled. And I think
Mhm.
that it will get across. I'll just say too, watch like Steve Jobs interviews, watch Elon Musk interviews. These are two
Yes.
people who are very visionary type of leaders.
Mhm.
And if you study them and you see the way that they move, it's very different than most
Mm.
entrepreneurs.
Mm.
But you will feel very fulfilled if you can move like them.
That's very interesting. That's a good tip there. So, have you also found with that journey with the technology, it's hard to find good people to work with when you're building your brand? And that's where that's where you're like, don't give up. It's gonna happen.
Man, we didn't get into all my real estate stuff, but yes, I've had experiences in real estate where, building a team is very important to me. One
Mm.
of the things I'm kind of touched on my work aspect, but sometimes you have to first follow before you lead.
Yes.
Um, and for me, I was fortunate enough to work in a small company. At least when I started, 10 people, one office. And
Mm-hmm.
over the years, in 9 years, I've seen them grow to 6 offices with many more employees.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I sat next to the owner, right? So
Ah,
I
okay.
positioned myself by the leader of the company.
Yes.
And I learned a lot from him. We had many discussions over the years on building a company. And so, yes, I would say that team, who
Mm-hmm.
you put on your team, especially in the beginning when it's
Yeah.
small, and they're going to have a very big impact, right? If you have a team of 5 people or 4 people,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you have 4 people, that's 25%, right? Each person. And so, whatever they do is very impactful. And so it's really important. And what I found in life is
Yeah.
that you spend a lot of time understanding and being very selective about who you bring aboard.
Oh, yes, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Thank you for sharing that. So success looks different for everyone, right?
Exactly.
And some people are, they look at it for monetary, or they look at it as I, was able to meet this obstacle, or what, however, how would you define success for you as an entrepreneur right now?
That's really good. For me, I really want to touch people's hearts.
Oh,
It's
uh-huh.
not just to just say, okay, here are some skills. You're going to make yourself rich by using these skills.
Right.
I think that we need more great leaders in the world.
I do.
And one of the things is, if you are struggling just to make ends meet,
Mm-hmm.
you can't even help yourself right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I see a lot of people with amazing potential,
Yeah.
and they just need some guidance. And
Yeah.
so, for me, having a company where I can share my experiences, share my knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
both from the financial part and then also the inspirational part. And the biggest thing in life, I would say, is to
Mm-hmm.
continue to grow. Um, for me to do this wasn't necessarily easy,
Yeah.
because I had to look at myself and ask, what areas do I need to grow in? And in
Yes.
order for my business to grow, I need to grow. And so, what I would say, probably my biggest success was actually something that someone messaged me and said.
Oh, okay.
Because I still feel like, you've only, like, there's only maybe 10% of what's in here of what I
Yeah.
want to get out there.
Yes. Yes.
And it was a mother who, one of my biggest growth areas, how I know this person is, um, when I was young and I moved to Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
um, we'd have to read out loud for the class.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggled with reading, but I also had a much more noticeable accent at the time.
Ah, okay.
And so the students would laugh when I read.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so public speaking, anytime, even in college, if I could avoid it, I would try to talk as little as possible in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I would need to talk in front of the camera, do interviews like this, do
Yeah.
social media videos, right? And part of
Yeah.
my business is interviewing people as well. And I have a YouTube channel where I share the interviews and educational information. And the biggest success actually came from someone who was in a public speaking course with me. I'm a certified public speaker now,
Okay.
through Les Brown. I put myself in the fire to become a public speaker and to learn and to get more comfortable in front of the camera. And this person saw me and heard some of my speeches from then
Mm-hmm.
and started to follow me on YouTube. And during the 4th of July this year,
Mm-hmm.
she brought her sons with her to visit her mother. And
Yeah.
she said, we binge watched all of your interviews and some of your educational content on YouTube. And I was blown away. And we sat there and we took notes because we had
Oh
never
my
heard some of these things.
God. That is amazing. Well, I think that's definitely a success. Oh
Right.
my God. Because you never know if people are really paying attention or listening
Exactly.
and seeing your stuff. But oh my God, that's amazing.
And to get an
So,
email like that, right? That makes your day.
yes.
You
Oh my
never know.
God,
You
I'm
get
sure.
some likes, you get a few comments, but that
Yeah.
really made my day.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for sharing your story, your struggles, as well as your success. I know many of the entrepreneurs on our platform will get some great learning tips from you. Definitely check out Expanding Wallet, and follow Andrew on his journey
Yep.
in leaving that full-time job and becoming a full-time entrepreneur, right?
Eventually, yes.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on when you make that one, right? So I
Exactly.
like to end each call with a toast to you, and toast into all your success with a glass of wine. For you, and to pair a wine varietal with what I found was close to your personality, but in like our first conversation, I felt like you're very laid back, that you go with the flow, but you're very powerful and you bring plenty of ideas and values to the table. And I think you're going to continue to do that. And it kind of ties into your speaking, because you do ending to the end. And I didn't even know that. And so you're the classic wine, which is a Merlot. Merlot is like your go-to red wine that people go to, and just to go with the flow. So with that said, I want to toast with you. If you could raise your glass of wine. All right. Ready?
Okay, there we go. I just got it ready now.
Yes. All right, perfect. So cheers to you, Andrew,
Cheers.
and to your success, more success in the future. And thank you for being a part of this interview with us today. We look forward to, again, following your journey and hopefully having you back on at a later date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Cheers.
it. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. Make sure and subscribe to our podcast. For the latest entrepreneur buzz, sign up for our e-newsletter. Link in description. Remember, success is like a hangover. Cheers.